Mr. Surf and Turf. Here we go. 10 more minutes of my Nuffield Scholarship journey to go. And I'm really excited to be up here presenting to you all. And plenty of you have said, well, they must save the best till last. But guess what? I'm second to last. So you've got 10 more minutes to wait until you get to hear from Anna Cotton. So I want to start by thanking my sponsors, the FRDC and the SA Blue Crab Pot Fishers Association. The FRDC and its recently retired MD Patrick Hone have backed me as a person since I met them. And so too has the SA Blue Crab Pot Fishers Association. And I'm really grateful for the sponsorship that sent me for 2 years around the world looking at the best first gen and next gen farmers and fishers. And I set out with the mission to come back to you with some genuine information about how you might get your children into farming. And what's probably closest to my heart is how to get people that have no farming background into owning food production assets. So, a little bit about me. I actually was born 900 metres that way at the Calvary Hospital. Before I left home, I lived with my mum and dad, who live about 1,100 metres that way. I went to Adelaide University, which you can see in the background, and I worked in the CBD in Adelaide. I'm not from a farming background, and neither is my wife Aimee, but I have been dreaming of being a farmer forever. And I don't know exactly when it started, but this is probably one of the first touch points in my life where farming became a thing for me, and I really wanted to do it. It's a dream that stuck with me, and I still have a dream to be farming full-time by the time I turned 40. Aimee and I bought our first block in 2019, a small block, and we've been growing the business ever since. And we've been kind of bobbing and weaving through the lease block scene on the Fleurieu, and at our biggest we were running 350 head across almost 1,000 acres, which was a real point of pride for me. I know they're not big numbers, but for someone who started with nothing, I'm really proud to say we've achieved that. So, my topic. I looked at entity structures, business models, attitudes and business practices, and policy recommendations. And I know what you're all thinking. It's probably, I've spent $800 on a ticket and I can't believe no one's talked about tax and accounting yet. Well, strap in, because it's about to start. Okay, so in my report, I talk about a lot more than I'll present today. I talk about entity structures that involve syndicates and shadow equity, share milking and share farming, land trusts, which until Jane's presentation today, I was a bit sceptical of how they work, but there are people willing to purchase properties for more than just profit. And I think land trusts will play a really important role if we can really share the benefits of those and find young farmers willing to farm that little green strip on the edge of your block. I think there's a real opportunity. Employee share schemes, family farm boards, and the one that's pictured, which I'll talk about, which I'm most excited about talking about, is estate freezing. Estate freezing is most popular in Canada and has been working really well for families where you have returning children to the farm, and the previous generation aren't quite ready to give up ownership, but they want a fair and equitable way of bringing their children or nephews in. So in that picture is a guy called Ben Lowith. He's a dairy farmer in Ontario, and the two other gents next to him, uncle and dad. Now, they used an estate freeze to bring Ben into the business, and really briefly how it works is they freeze the value of their whole estate, the whole farm business, at a particular day of their choosing, and on that day they issue a common share or another share class of zero value to Ben. So Ben gets a share in the company, it's worth nothing. But after the date of that freeze, as the business grows in value, Ben, uncle and dad become three-way owners of the new growth. And that big red barn-looking structure there is the fully integrated milk processing and dairy business which Ben built. So he's a three-way owner in that, and you can see just bringing his labour to the table, he's able to actually become part of the asset ownership, and Dad and Uncle haven't actually given up anything. So to talk about business models, again, there's a few in my report I've written about. Subdivision of land and title amalgamation, land use change, catalytic investment, dairy cow leaseback, but two that I'll talk about today. The hub and farm business model, which I really like, and the one that Aimee and I use for our business. The guy in that picture, the tall one, not the short one, the tall one is a guy called Paul Windermuller, and some of you would know Paul really well. Paul is a first-gen dairy farmer in Michigan, and for me, he's kind of like the first-gen rock star. I really look up to Paul, the way he runs his business, his family, his beliefs, and it just all plays out in the success of his business. He milks 220 cows on robots on a 20-acre block. So that's the hub that I'm talking about. The spokes are all the other things he uses to generate income or to facilitate parts of his business. So the only equipment he owns, $3,000 skid steer, contracts all the feed. It's brought to him every single day, and when I was visiting him, he said the guy that delivers the feed every day has done it for 11 years and had 2 sick days. So just that, what you can do when you have just good connections and operate from that hub model. And he's a really good businessman, and he's recently sold all the cows to a neighbour. You know where the beef price is at or the cow price is at in the US at the moment. He sold all the cows. He's leasing the infrastructure to them, and he's contracted with an ag tech firm to sell data from the cows to them for trials. So just good, nimble business models. And this one is enterprise stacking. Nick Cotter, I think he's been up on screen today. Ash mentioned Nick, a terrific guy. And his family business has firewood, organic lamb, and sheep handling equipment systems all on that same very small farm in Ireland. So multiple income streams, enabling Jack, his brother, he and his old man all have a job in the business. Okay, attitudes and business practices. Sorry, Rob, I'm letting a bit of a secret out here about how good this guy is. This is James Greenacre. He farms in northern Tasmania, and was definitely one of those times in a Nuffield journey where you go to every single continent in the world and then find a whole lot of answers right under your nose. For me, James Greenacre just epitomised that just perfect goal setting in a business which included the people things and the financial things, and he brought them together. And the way Rob described him to me was that he relentlessly pursues opportunities. And that's something I've taken on board in the last 2 years. Relentlessly pursue opportunities, something that Aimee probably so tired of me saying, as well as having a mentality of abundance theory, which I learned from James. We can do it, we can make it work, we will do it, and we're capable of it. Now, lots of policy recommendations in my report. I won't list them all, I'll just talk about some. On screen is Aimee Shorb. She's a commercial salmon fisher in Alaska, and she has an entirely female crew. She has one male decky, but the core of her business revolves around an entirely female crew. And in Alaska, they really value Alaskans fishing. So they have fisheries that are set up so that you've got to be a local to play, and you've got to live there for 2 years. It's an example of a policy which, of course, has trade-offs, but if you're looking to increase representation of minority groups, be it women or First Nations in a sector, you've got to let someone in, let alone just women or First Nations people. You've got to have a framework that lets someone in. So this is something I really like, and is kind of my hallmark policy recommendation to begin with. Canada has a parliamentary standing committee on intergenerational transfer of farms and new entrants. I just think it's a really important thing for us as an industry and a nation to sit down and go, what is this problem we're about to face? We all know we're facing it. It's been brought up a few times today. What tools have we got? Is the demographic of a farming family changing? Are people working off farm? Yes, they are. So what is it that we can do to actually prepare for $10 billion worth of assets coming down the pipeline to the next generation? Some really quick ones. Land matching programs. I was really sceptical of these to start with as well. I thought, who would put their land up for some stranger to lease? In British Columbia, they've had 360 land matches between retiring farmers and young people looking to start a farming business. Regional Investment Corporation and their young farmer loan products. I don't blame them for their eligibility criteria for young farmer loans. I think they operate within the policy settings they're given, but I'm not eligible for an agri-starter loan, and it actually makes me a bit upset, to be honest. So the reason I'm not is because I go up and down because 50% of my labour and income come off the farm. But I thought you were supposed to make efficient farms where you weren't there all the time. I could easily spend more than 50% of my time on the farm, but why? Why would I want to? But I'm not eligible for a loan through them because of that criteria. Income caps. You can't deduct your farm losses if you generate $250,000 off the farm. Now that includes capital gains. So if you're diligent, you set yourself up to have some rental properties possibly. You want to liquidate those to get into farming. In that year, you liquidate them. If you happen to make more than or if your employment plus your capital gain is more than that number, you can't deduct your income losses in your first farming year. Unnecessary hurdle for young people getting into farming. Please read my report when it's published. There's plenty of other policy recommendations to talk about. I've run a little over time, so I just want to thank a couple of people before I start. And I'm 0% chance of not crying here. So if I'm going to cry, I just want to take a few of you down with me. These two salty sea dogs referred me to Nuffield. Dennis Holder on the left at my wedding, and a guy called Wayne Dredge on the right. And they've both been just such good, decent people and mentors to me. Dennis has spent more time on the phone with me than he cares to admit, I suppose. Pretty well every Friday arvo we have a good yarn about something, and I really appreciate it, Dennis, and your sponsorship of me for the program. All right, you ready? Okay. This is my little boy, my little girl, and my wife. And I could not have done anything in the last 7 years with the farm, or the last 2 years with my Nuffield, without that lady in the middle, who is an unbelievable human being with a gigantic engine. And I'm so grateful for you. You know exactly how much you've put into this. And really, you should be wearing this tie, because if it wasn't for you, none of it would have happened. Thanks so much for listening to me, folks. I really appreciate it. Hasn't dropped yet, so it doesn't count. But I've had just an awesome journey. And I also just want to mention GFP 6 2024 being just what an amazing group of human beings, eh? Thanks so much, James. I'm going to hand it back to you, mate. Appreciate it.